My name is Alain Barker, as many of you know, and I'm the president of the Bloomington Rotary Club, and thrilled to be starting off this meeting again today here in the Frangipani room. What a wonderful space this is. And also enjoying the lingering memories of that fantastic time we had just a few days ago at Mike's place, Mike Baker's wonderful farm. Thank you so much, Mike, for that incredible experience for us all. Thank you. Yeah. Yesterday was October 10th, which was Indigenous Peoples Day in many parts of the US, as well as here in Bloomington. To mark the significance of the day, both the city of Bloomington and Indiana University honored the traditions, cultures, and contributions of Indigenous people to our community and emphasized their commitment to deeper partnerships and more collaborative work with Native communities. I'd like to invite you to acknowledge that we honor the Miamiyaki, the Lenape, the Bodewedmik, and the Sawana people, on whose ancestral homelands and resources we sit and stand and live. The land we inhabit is part of who we are, and it reflects our histories and stories, collectively and individually. Indigenous people from other Native nations also reside in Indiana and have made innumerable contributions to our very diverse world. So thank you for that. Okay, so we have birthdays for the past 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we weren't able to celebrate everybody's birthdays last week. So I've got a group of birthdays from both last week and this week. So we have Colleen Curry, October 5th. We have Tim Jessen, who's with us today, October 8th. Art Omek, who's on a farm somewhere right now with kids, October 11th. Jim Capshew, October 14th. Dave Meyer, who's with us as well, October 18th. Mike Wade, October 21st. Charlotte Zietlow, October 21st. And Susie Graham, October 21st as well. So let's wish them all a very, very happy birthday. Member anniversaries as well. We've got Anne Wren, who is 16 years, 2 years with our club. Kevin Hopper Knudstom, who is 3 years with the club. Tim Jessen, 10 years total, 6 years with our club. Lauren Snyder, likewise 13 years and 7 years with the club. Rex Hillary, 11 years. Sarah Laughlin, who's also on a farm somewhere in Indiana, 14 years, and Walt Kuhn. 21 years for Walt. So let's celebrate all of those wonderful anniversaries as well. Thank you so much. Let's invite Jim Sims to come up to the podium here and celebrate all of our guests. And for those of you who are new to the Rotary Club, welcome. We're really thrilled that you're here and look forward to getting to know you a little bit more. And if you ever want to know about the Bloomington Rotary Club, please speak to any of us.
Thank you, President Alain. Hello, fellow Rotarians. I didn't hear anything. Hello. It's my pleasure today to announce our guests for today. And first we have Rita Oates, the guest of Bill Oates. Eric, there you go, thank you. Erica Kovacs, Sarah Cochran, who are the guest of Jim Bright. Will you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Dave O'Gwen, who is the guest of Jeff Richardson. Joanna Regalade, and I hope I got that correct. She is a member of the Rotary Club, or guest of the Rotary Club. And Yaya Caterer. Did I get close? All right, nice to meet you. Guest of Rotaract Club. We also have Robert Authenson, Mary Getz. He's the guest of Mary Getz, thank you. Jim Owling, who's a guest of Ron Barnes. They're in the back, thank you. And Patricia Silvera, if I hope I pronounced that correctly, who's the guest of Jim Bright. Joy, do we have any guests on Zoom?
Yes, Jim, we do. Please join me in welcoming Clarice Cross, who comes to us from Brownsburg this afternoon, but she is the 2021 Rotary Global Grant Scholar. Welcome, Clarice. And then later on, we hope to have Alexandra Starry joining us from Berlin, Germany. She is the 2018-19 Rotary Global Grant Scholar. So welcome to both of you. Glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you, thank you. And Joy, thank you so much always for helping on Zoom. It's really wonderful to see you there again. Okay, we have our reflection for today. We've got the one and only Phil Eskew, who's going to come and say some words about polio, I believe.
A few weeks ago, you heard an update on our polio and gave a little bit of the history of the polio vaccine and the efforts of Rotary. Many of you in the last issue of the Rotary magazine had a wonderful article on Rotary, and my talk's over here. So there's a new weapon against polio. In mid-2017, two groups of 15 strangers lived together for 28 days in a ring of shipping containers assembled in the parking lot of Antwerp University Hospital in Belgium. This was a remarkable clinical trial of the latest weapon in the battle to eradicate polio. It's a re-engineered vaccine called the novel oral polio vaccine type 2. Study aimed to evaluate whether the altered formula, the first major update polio vaccines in about 6 decades, could help end outbreaks of circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus, also known as a variant or a mutant. Such cases arise in rare instances when the live but weakened virus contained in oral polio vaccine circulates in areas of low vaccine coverage and mutates back into a dangerous form that can infect people who have not been fully vaccinated. These variant or mutate polio virus outbreaks have emerged over the past 2 decades as a significant stumbling block in the effort by Rotary and its partners in the global polio eradication initiative to wipe out the disease. In 1988, wild polio virus paralyzed hundreds of children every day, with an estimated 350,000 polio cases across more than 125 countries that year. Since then, cases have plummeted 99.9%, sparing an estimated 20 million children from paralysis. A vaccine developed in the early 1950s by Jonas Salk used killed virus, which carries no risk of seeding vaccine-derived or variant outbreaks because the killed virus cannot mutate. The oral polio vaccine was developed in the late 1950s by Albert Sabin. It became the vaccine of choice for polio eradication because it's safe, inexpensive, and easy to administer. And the live but weakened vaccine virus replicated in the gut and produced strong intestinal immunity. As a result, vaccinated children can shed the weakened virus in their stool for several weeks. In areas with poor sanitation, weakened virus spreads, stimulating an immune response in the unvaccinated. The trial was conducted with 2 back-to-back groups of 15 volunteers in 2017, and the new vaccine was rolled out in March 2021, first in Nigeria and Liberia. Through the first half of 2022, more than 370 million doses were administered in more than 20 countries. The new vaccine by itself is not a silver bullet, but with herd immunity, it is really going to reach more children because it has to be around 90% of the people that are vaccinated, and that will cover the other 10% because it will not be shed in their gut. That's just a new weapon against polio.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. And what an important thing to have a physician come up and explain a lot of these things to us so that we can trust that the information is truly important to know about. And also to remember that Rotary, being the leader with the Gates Foundation across the world in polio eradication, uses the funds that we collectively support through the Rotary International Foundation. So I just want to put a shout out there once again that truly the money that we put into the Rotary Foundation to do this good work around has enormous impact and in many ways saves thousands and thousands of lives. So I want to thank you for your support on that as well. A member update, I had a whole bunch more, but for some reason it didn't move into this document that I have for me, but in front of me. But I do want to say that Yolanda Trevino, past president, was a guest of the Cape Town Newlands Club yesterday. So I just want to congratulate her for being on Zoom and giving a presentation there. And all of you probably remember the film Invictus. I don't know if you remember the film Invictus, in which Nelson Mandela walked on the rugby field and congratulated the then predominantly white Springboks for their game. That was the same place. Newlands Field was exactly the same place. So Yolanda, I'm so happy that you were there virtually, and you're happy. I'm very happy to know that you're with us as well. Thank you. So a few club updates, just to remind you that we've got our volunteer opportunities available for you to participate in with the Sign Up Genius. Please look at the link in the roundabout this week. We have a Business Outlook Forum announcement from Carla Cox-Deckard. And while she's coming up to the podium here, I'll remind you that the Pete Ellis Road cleanup date has now been set for October 22nd. And if you want to participate in that, Dave Meyer is your person.
Thank you, President Lon. I hope that following our wonderful Rotary Toast event that's going to take place on November 4th at Ivy Tech Shreve Hall, that you all will plan on joining us again as a club on Thursday, November 10th at Ivy Tech Shreve Hall at lunchtime for the annual Business Outlook panel. This panel will take place Thursday, November 10th. The doors will open at 11:15 a.m. and the program will begin at 11:45 a.m. We will also have a virtual option. If you plan on joining us for lunch in person, you'll want to respond to an upcoming survey link to let us know that you're coming, and you're welcome to bring guests. This event is sponsored by Bloomington Rotary along with the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, and it features our IU Kelley School of Business faculty members and experts on the local, statewide, and global economy. So they'll be providing us with an outlook and opportunity to ask some questions about what's coming up in 2023. I do want to note that we have gratitude towards our continuing sponsor, the Bayard Matthew Snyder Group, who will help us put on this event as well. And so be on the lookout for that survey. Make sure that you respond, and please invite your friends to join us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carla. And I heard the last name Snyder somewhere in the middle there. Thank you to Lauren Snyder for being such a great supporter of this event. Okay, and one more thing that I just, she mentioned the toast. This is truly a magical event, and we hope that all of you will choose to be there. A quick reminder that the deadline for signing up and being part of that event is Saturday, October 15th. So please make sure that you go ahead and go to the website and sign up for that. It's truly the night to shine for Bloomington, the three Bloomington Rotary clubs. It's our biggest and most visible event of the year in the community. This year honoring Gladys Devane, such a fabulous person, such a worthy person, following our own Charlotte Zietler. And I want to remind you that in the first 7 years of this event, it's been going for 7 years, we've raised more than $270,000 that support so much in this community, enabling us to offer scholarships for high schools and Ivy Tech students to help support Rotaract and Interact, to help the Ryler Project, to support the refugee families, and so much more. So not only is it going to be a very, very special event in which we can be out there in the community doing so much in part of the celebration to celebrate Gladys, but also making a real difference in the community. So please join us and support us as much as you can with that event. Okay, I'd like to just acknowledge a few people and thank them for this meeting today. Glenda Murray, who's sitting up near the front door, thank you very much for helping us with the front table while Natalie's away, as well as Megan Gerhardt, who was able to step, and Judy, with the three of them. were able to help out. Jim Sims, thank you so much for greeting our guests. We've got our producer, Tyrell Nichols here. Zoom host, Joy Harder, and Phil, thank you once again so much for telling us about an update with polio. And our roundabout reporter, the hero of the month, is the one and only Jim Bright. So thank you, Jim. Now we have a very special moment. We have the induction of 2 new members of our club, and I'm going to invite Dave Meyer to come to the podium to introduce our 2 new members. Are they going to come up as well? Would you like to invite them all to the podium? The new members and their sponsors. And I'm going to switch gears and take some photographs.
Thank you, Elaine. This is the part, the portion of the program that I enjoy the most, where we get to celebrate 2 new inductees into Rotary. I will tell you a little bit about both of our inductees, but first I want to say that we have a rare pleasure here. They have something in common with each other. Is both of our inductees this morning either are or have been CASA sponsors. That's court-appointed special advocates for children. And if you don't know about that program, that is a deeply meaningful and important program in our community. So let me start. We have our first inductee will be Tracy Javanovic. Tracy, if you'd raise your hand so they know what you look like. Okay. Tracy is currently the VP of Direct Sales at Windstream, a rural internet provider. She and her husband, Vladen, and 2 boys, Marco, 24, and Luca, 17, moved back to Bloomington 3 years ago, as she is retired, quote unquote, from her partner VPGM position at Microsoft in Seattle. She received her master's of public administration from Indiana University and her bachelor's degree in international business from Oklahoma State University. She enjoys gardening, cooking, reading, travel, skiing, and scuba diving in her, again, quote, spare time, unquote. Tracy is also the daughter of the man standing next to her, our own Winston Shendell, a longtime Rotarian. As a professional and community leader, Tracy successfully led the March of Dimes campaign for Sprint, the United Way campaign as a leadership chair in Overland Park, Kansas, and was co-sponsor for the Microsoft Giving campaign in Redmond, Washington. Giving back to the community is very important to Tracy, as she currently volunteers and serves as a CASA and as treasurer for the Chi Omega House Corporation here in Bloomington. Our second inductee, longtime Bloomingtonian, Mary Getze. Mary spent her early years in Warrensburg, Missouri, and left to attend college, first at McPherson College and then to Oberlin Conservatory. She went from Oberlin to Bloomington for a master's in music education and the beginning of her teaching career, first in MCCSC as a music specialist, and then to the faculty at the Jacobs School of Music in music education. Later, she completed a PhD at the University of Colorado. Her strong interest in children's vocal development led her to found the University Children's Choir in 1980, which she directed until 1995. Mary found the International Vocal Ensemble at the Jacobs School, a full group that recreated vocal music from outside the Western art tradition. That led her to Asia, Africa, and South America. Recordings made on the road led to Global Voices, a series of interactive DVDs used in classrooms and choirs around the country. She chaired the Jacobs School Music General Studies Department until she retired in 2007. Her publications include a book, numerous articles and chapters and so on. Okay. In her retirement, her focus has been on social justice. Mary served as a CASA on the boards of New Leaf, New Life with yours truly, and Lotus. Prior to COVID, she was a regular volunteer in jail. One caregiver asked about other programs for children separated by parental incarceration. Finding no such program, Mary started Kids with Absent Parents. Now in its 5th year, this group provides bi-monthly gatherings for children and their caregivers. Mary lives in Bloomington with her husband, Bob. Hi, Bob. Who was introduced earlier, and 2 cats. Nearby, a son, Aaron Gussie, and his 2 grandkids as well. Time left over from volunteering is taken with composing, reading books, swimming in their endless pool, walking and gardening. Okay, so Teresa Clare from the membership committee is going to help with the second part of our induction ceremony.
Tracy and Mary, on behalf of the board and membership of the Bloomington Rotary Club, it is my great pleasure to welcome you as the newest members of our club. We look forward to the fellowship that you will share, as well as your participation in many club projects that make our community, country, and world a better place. Though Rotary is not a political organization, Rotarians are vitally concerned with the good citizenship and the election of strong leaders to public office. While Rotary is not a religious organization, it is built on those eternal principles that have served as a moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when people unite with the Rotary motto of service above self. Rotary activities exemplify the charity and sacrifice that one would expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others. Mary and Tracy, you have been chosen for membership in the Bloomington Club because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in our community, and because you possess the qualities to champion the message and principles of Rotary. You are a representation of your vocation within our club and community. You now become an ambassador of Bloomington Rotary, carrying the ideals of service to all within your sphere of influence. Our community will know and judge Rotary by your character and service. We will also look to you for inspiration as we strive to become better Rotarians. We will now pin you with the distinguished badge of a Rotarian, your Rotary pin. We ask that you wear your Rotary pin with pride, not only to all Rotary functions, but in your many endeavors as a symbol of your commitment to Rotary ideals and our recognition of your contribution towards a better world. Fellow Rotarians, please rise and welcome our newest Rotarians, Tracy Javanovic and Mary Gussie.
Great, what a wonderful moment that always is. New members, new ideas, new strength to the organization. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, well, let's move on to our program and invite Michael Shermis to come up to the podium and to introduce our very distinguished guest.
Thank you, President Lum. It is my great honor to introduce Pamela Whitten, the 19th president of Indiana University and the first woman to lead IU. Under her leadership, IU has emphasized 3 core missions: providing broad access to an education for all students from Indiana and beyond, pursuing world-class research, scholarship, and creative activity, and making meaningful contributions to improving Hoosier health and the economic, social, civic, and cultural development of the state and the world. During her first year in office, President Whitten accelerated the university's effort to hire and retain diverse faculty and researchers, strengthened IU's commitment to sustainability, and renewed its focus on student mental health. The state's flagship university since 1820, IU has a record of leading innovation and advancing research and partnerships throughout the region. It has continued during President Whitten's tenure. In 2022, the IU School of Medicine, the largest medical school in the nation, celebrated record-breaking funding from the National Institutes of Health, and IU expanded enrollment and growth of its nursing program to address the state's nursing shortage. Before joining IU, President Whitten was an active researcher in the field of telemedicine, and she held a variety of leadership roles in higher education, including serving as a dean at Michigan State University, senior vice president for academic affairs, and provost at the University of Georgia, and as president of Kennesaw State University. We are delighted to have her as our speaker today. Please join me in welcoming the president of Indiana University, Pamela Whitten.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't know if I can make this work, but look, no, I got it. If you touch it, it might fall. So let's not touch it. Thank you all so much for inviting me this afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction as well. I have to confess, and hello to all our folks who are here virtually. This is an incredibly unnatural way to me to speak, to be standing behind a podium and unable to move, which I appreciate we're going to do for our folks that are with us virtually. But I'm going to do my best to try. I am someone I'm a longtime professor, and I was that professor that walked around the room and moved, et cetera. And so please bear with me as I attempt to keep myself behind the podium. There's lots to talk about today. And so I think we'll see what we get through. And then we'll have a few minutes to entertain any questions or even just thoughts or suggestions that you all might have for me as well. And so let me just kind of jump in and start talking. Okay, let me see. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Sorry, I'm figuring out a remote that you point the other direction to make work. So bear with me for a second. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that I do recognize some of the folks in the room. I don't know if you all remember, but I was here for the district meeting. Everything feels like 5 minutes ago, doesn't it? But I know it's been a matter of months. So it's fun to see some of the same faces back again from that meeting as well. And also, I think it's important to acknowledge that I like to think that our institution, our university, shares many of the same values, of course, that you all walk with all the service and the work that you do as a Rotary Club member. And, in particular, obviously, for the last 100 years, the work that you do for student scholarships, I can't overemphasize how important that is to the success of each individual student that has been a beneficiary of one of those scholarships. Obviously, literacy programs and the educational exchanges that you do as well as well as so much other service and work too. So I have been at IU now 14 or 15 months. It's easier just to say I'm in my second year. It was a wonderful first year. It was a year full of so much listening and learning, as well as a number of things, some of them a surprise to me and to others that had to get jumped on in my first year as well. But certainly I've learned a number of things, and you guys already knew this, many of you that have been around or affiliated with the institution for many years. I mean, we're an amazing university. We have an enormous statewide footprint, and when people have asked me what surprised you during your first year that you learned about Indiana University, I would talk about the footprint. And even though I knew coming in where we are around the state of Indiana, it's really pretty extraordinary. I mean, we have 90,000 students this year across the entire state of Indiana. We have, in theory, 7 campuses, but we also have 2 sub-campuses in Columbus and Fort Wayne. We have 9 medical school campuses as well. We're the largest medical school in the country by attendance. So there's no part of the state of Indiana that you go to that we don't touch in some way. And I think with that comes tremendous responsibility, frankly, that we owe the state. And we could talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But the extent of the footprint of this university across the state, I have not seen this in any other state with any other university or institution. Obviously, we have some pretty wonderful traditions, and you all know when you go to many, of course, last year was my first year for many. So I think every little 5 is 82 degrees and sunny. and 10,000 people come, right? So I can expect that every year. I'll just keep thinking that as well. Obviously, the whole world recognizes us, and then people recognize how beautiful our campus is, particularly in Bloomington. All of our campuses are stunning. I don't know how many of you have visited, certainly Indianapolis, but also New Albany or Gary or South Bend or other campuses. But I have to confess, I think if you were at the district meeting, you heard me tell the story about the time that my family used to come. We lived in Michigan. I was at Michigan State for many years as just a regular old college professor. And there were several times when we came over to Brown County in the summer and would rent a cabin, and we would come into Bloomington for dinner, come to the big city for dinner, and we would walk the campus because I have a thing for college campuses. And always were stunned at Bloomington. And throughout all those years, when people would ask my husband and I, because we've been on so many campuses, what's the most beautiful campus you've ever been on? We would always say, my husband in particular, who is not an academic, would say, well, Bloomington is the most beautiful campus I've ever been on. And so we think it's like a wonderful karma thing that we ended up here as well. And I live right in the middle of campus in the president's house again. And so we live inside this beautiful park, if you will. And then, of course, it's about time and space and place, right? And the ambition of our university to really take steps to launch upon its great history to become what we want this institution to become as well. And so we just announced just a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you all get the blog that I put out on a weekly basis. It's called Written by Witten. And in the blog a couple of weeks ago, I used that opportunity to announce in essence, our vision, our strategic plan moving forward. And we did it a little differently this year from traditional university strategic plans, which are often 500 pages long and everybody's happy, right? Because everybody sees something that directly applies to them, which is not a bad thing. But instead, we recognized that as Indiana University, as the flagship school that is all over the state of Indiana, that we needed to recognize and acknowledge and document the common vision for all of Indiana University. And so we did that, and we created a framework. And now all of our campuses have the next 6 months to apply that framework, but to tailor what they're going to do to reach those goals for the unique attributes of each campus, because the students are different and the communities are different, and the scale and the type of research that's done is different, et cetera, as well. So everyone's going to have 6 months to tailor what they're going to do for those overall vision and goals. It's pretty simple. You can go to the website and find it, and we'll talk a little bit about it today as well. But the other piece of it is that we think it's important to be clear and simple and succinct, but also to do tangible things that you can measure, right? I mean, so we put it out there. We put some quantitative expectations and goals out there for all of us to reach, and we'll be measuring them over the course of next 7 or so years till 2030 as well to get there, because we think we need to be held accountable for really striving, and some of them are a stretch for us, but I have a lot of confidence in this institution that we will reach those goals. And so if you've heard me speak anywhere, you've heard me talk about, the 3 things that we're here to do. And so we have framed our vision, and we are framing the campus-wide strategic planning around these 3 pillars, if you will. And so the first, as it always should be, of course, is student success and opportunity. The second is around research, creative activity, and scholarship that occurs across Indiana University. And then the third, which we've done, but I think we're ready to be a bit more intentional about our responsibility, has to do with public service and outreach. So service to the state of Indiana and beyond. And so if we talk a little bit more about this, as we get to the end of this process in the spring, then we will have these tailored, specific strategic plans to meet the overall vision that we have as an institution. And so when we talk about the student success and opportunity, and as I said, you can easily go, there's a whole website on IU 2030 that you could go to, and you could see all the lovely detail. But we're seeking to attract, retain, and graduate students who are going to get an extraordinary education, a unique education, something that sets them apart from people who get degrees at other universities, but also with a real focus on an affordable education as well. And going to provide them with an immersive experience or experiences that will elevate them amongst their peers as well. And we've also, in the vision, set very, very specific goals, as I've talked about as well. And so for example, you'll see that we expect to be hitting graduation rates in the top 25% of our peer groups. And of course, in Bloomington, that's the Big Ten, right? At IUPUI, they have another set of peer groups. So there are different peer groups set for each campus. But we think that we can expect retention, graduation rates, other aspects of the experience at the undergraduate and graduate level that our students deserve as well. But we also acknowledge there's lots of good things about us, right? And so if we focus on Bloomington in particular, because we're in Bloomington today, so we will do that. We ranked 29th among public university in the U.S. News. Obviously, who's a Kelly grad from here? Or Kelly student. If you're a Kelly of any kind, right? Good. We've got some. That our undergraduate program ranked number 8 overall. That's nice, but I think what's more compelling is that in terms of public universities, because there's such a difference now between public and privates in terms of the resources that are available. We're a top 5 program in terms of public universities. O'Neill, just amazing, tied for first for the master's program in public affairs, 6th straight year that we've ranked number 1 or number 2 in that area. Number 22 on the list of nation's most trusted universities, which is no small thing in this day and age when everybody's mad at higher education, right? I guess everybody's just mad at everybody for everything these days as well, right? So I mentioned enrollment. We have 90,000 students now across the state. We're one of the biggest universities in the country. Nobody knows that about Indiana University. You go out of the state of Indiana, no one understands how large we actually are as a university. This year, we had a record number of students of color, which is very important to us, is a big priority. We had 47,000 students in Bloomington, which is a record number. We had 9,700 beginner students, which is a record. This is why enrollment is so high. This year and last year's freshman classes were so significant. And that, if I'm very honest, and I tend to be very honest about and direct about things, totally on the backs of the out-of-state students coming in to study at Kelly. That is where the increase has been at Indiana University. 28% of our students in Bloomington are students of color. Our international student enrollment was up 15% from last year here, which is good. We're just about at pre-pandemic levels again with international students, which is just terrific, because that's something that we take great pride in Bloomington is our global footprint in so many areas, which includes the number of international students that actually come here to study. Of course, we're ambitious to be even better for our students, as I mentioned, in terms of outcomes, in terms of what people need to enter the workforce, but we are going to continue to embrace a broad-based general education. And so that's something that will remain a priority. We think it helps the whole person to have the opportunity to go to college and have a broad-based liberal education or general education. Those classes really matter. Those philosophy classes and foreign language classes and science classes, all of those matter, we think, in helping to prepare people for the careers. And I say careers because people have multiple careers in a life now. Young people do as well. And then, of course, ensuring equity and inclusion for all is a very big priority. And there's a lot of work going on and more that you'll see in the coming years to really up our game in terms of DEI as well. I talked a little bit about the acknowledging wanting to keep an IU education affordable. We have a task force that I launched last year that's being chaired by our chief financial officer to do just that. I think we got a little too comfortable as costs continue to increase, and we're not immune to inflation here either. But we tended to start to have our go-to be, well, let's just raise tuition a little bit here, a little bit, rather than kind of getting our hands around costs. And we can't do that. We can't keep putting this on the backs of students. So we're looking to create a new philosophy for decisions about tuition. We're also looking to address, we have over 1,200 fees at Indiana University for students. That's not good. And so the group this year is going to actually cut those in half, some of to make things more transparent and simple. And then in some cases, we'll have some students that have fees drop for them as well, depending on the fees. Our in-state undergraduate tuition is low. We're the 3rd lowest in the Big Ten in terms of what we charge. We talked about the task force. And then we've also done some things to really focus on students. And so we never had someone on the president's cabinet who was a vice president with the intent of having a voice for students. So we've created a vice president of student success. We recruited Julie Payne Kirchmeyer. She started in August. She comes to us from Northwestern University. And her job is to come up with, kind of a baseline for how we take care of our students across all our campuses. And so she's in her first 90 days. She's got, I don't know, about 3 more weeks left. I told her I would leave her alone for 90 days. That's it. That's what you get. And then she's bringing her plan to me, and hopefully we'll be launching a lot of new exciting things as well. Mental health initiatives, such a staggering problem across all universities. Aaron Carroll led a task force for all of IU last year, and a report and a number of people involved, and we've got a lot of things underway in that area now as well. The second pillar is research and scholarship in terms of our strategic plan and the things that we are here to do. We produced an amazing amount of unbelievable scholarship, from hard sciences to social sciences to humanities to creative work that's done as well. But we want to expand our impact. So last year we had about 521 million in externally funded research. Our stretch goal is to hit 700 million as an institution across all of IU, which is very doable and a very, very fair expectation as well. We want to focus, of course, on that research, which is high impact. And we want to expand our efforts to really translate the research and creative activity we do through access to the public. So we really need to up our game in terms of disclosure and licensing of invention, discoveries, innovations. We really need to work to expand opportunities for entrepreneurship, certainly for our students, but also for our faculty and staff as well, for the wonderful things that they discover and make, and really expand partnerships with key constituencies as well. And then the third pillar, as I mentioned, is public service and outreach, so service to our state and beyond. We are the state's flagship institution, and it is our responsibility, I believe, to make this a better place for all Hoosiers that live here in multiple areas. And so we are taking this on pretty aggressively in our IU 2030 plans. And so there's for example, certainly has been some work done. We've been participating in the READY grants, the Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative. I think we're funded in just about every one except for one that I know of. One highlight is the work with Upland Science and Technology Foundation, which is a foundation that's seeking to expand work at Crane, Westgate at Crane Technology Park as well. But there is so much more to do to enhance the quality of life across the state of Indiana. And so we need to address this. So, for example, one of the things that you'll see in our IU 2030 is that we've got to play a leadership role in figuring out how we increase the K-12 population of teachers in the state, training them and preparing them. This is a national problem with just declining enrollments in education schools. And we, of course, have a significant and unique problem in the state of Indiana with K-12 teachers as well. So that's part of what we're going to do. We're the university that produces, everyone that provides health services, or at least as I like to say, the people that provide the best health services right around the state. And certainly that's medicine, but it's also nursing and social work and, public health and optometry and dentistry. And so I think we have an obligation to play a leadership role in the state in looking at all those areas where we have terrible health outcomes, because we're pretty much in the bottom 10 and really the bottom 2 or 3 in almost every outcome, from what we spend on public health to the health status of Hoosiers as well. So we've got to figure out how we get in there and have an impact on that. We've got to do much more work to help the economic development and vitality of the state of Indiana, and that needs to come from Indiana University as well. So much more work will go on in terms of partnerships with industry and workforce development and other areas as well. So what will Indiana University of 2030 be like? We intend that it's going to be a university that ranks highest amongst its peers in attracting and retaining and graduating students who receive a cutting-edge education, which will prepare them professionally and personally through experiences that distinguish those earning an IU degree. We expect it to be a university that is open and affordable to students from all sectors of society. We expect it to be a university that boasts a faculty that excels in producing high-impact research that makes a difference in people's lives with creative activity that inspires and elevates the human experience. And we expect it to be a university that attracts new level of government grants and philanthropic support to help us do research, to bring the fruits of that research to life through innovative ideas, discoveries, creativity, and entrepreneurship as well. So on that note, I'm going to stop talking at you and see what kind of questions you might have. Thank you.
Hello? Magic Baka trick. I have a question. So, 30 years ago, I was the editor of a magazine called Research and Creative Activity, and I loved doing it because I got to talk about the scholarly work that we were doing at IU. It was always such a thrill to hear all the new things that were going on. You're at a cocktail party and you're begging on IU and saying, "Oh, did you know about what's what we do at IU? What is one of the examples that you might give?"
I'll be very frank. I think what's happening in the School of Medicine is stunning. So, I just announced another, I can't remember, it was $45 or $48 million grant to study Alzheimer's to the School of Medicine, on top of about an $80 million grant that a faculty member there has to study dementia and Alzheimer's as well. Our School of Medicine is just doing tremendous work. We are now a top 14 publicly funded university from NIH. We set a goal in our strategic plan to be a top 10 NIH publicly funded university. I think we can reach it. It is the shining star at IU right now, what's happening research-wise from the School of Medicine.
Hello, so I just knew you were talking about how you are trying to prioritize Hoosier health outcomes. And I just wanted to kind of bring awareness to an issue that a fellow Rotary actor told me about, is how the IU Health Center doesn't accept Medicaid. And a lot of times as freshmen age out of Medicaid. And the next program that they apply for called HIP, there's no resources on campus to apply for this. So I was just wondering if you're aware of this issue and if there's kind of any steps being taken, and if not, who can we talk to help kind of solve this issue?
Thank you for bringing it my attention. I'm not aware of it. And I don't know if Dave O'Gwen wants in. Okay. I was going to say, talk to Dave O'Gwen about it. So I don't know if you guys could hear Dave's response. The health center reports up through him that was something that had been brought to their attention, and we now do accept Medicaid in the IU Health Clinic for students. So thank you for that. Thanks for enabling us to give that good answer. Thanks, Dave. Would anyone online like to ask a question? Oh.
Yes, I do add a negative tone to this, but what can we do? What does the university plan to do from bringing 47,000 people to Bloomington when there isn't enough for affordable housing for students? How can you help that?
So I believe the question was, we are growing so much from a student population perspective, and there's not enough affordable housing in Bloomington, period, for not just students. I would actually add that beyond. I've watched too many new incoming faculty and staff struggle to find affordable housing as well. We certainly have folks that do work with the city. We have a team of people that partner and bring issues to the city. But I would ask all of you, as someone who's fairly new to Bloomington, why we, from at least my perspective, have such strict, what appears to be strict activity against expanding or growing in affordable housing. And I don't understand that myself. And of course, that's, the university is unable to impact policy for the city or the region. That would be local government. I don't know if there's anybody here from the local government or someone that wants to try to address that. Jim. Jim, I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't feel prepared to answer the question. I'm unable to answer the question. I will tell you, it's something that we talk about on this campus a lot, and we keep putting it on the agenda and bringing, amongst other issues of concern in our partnership. And I think it's a good partnership with the city. I hope it is, at least. But I can't answer that question from the perspective of things we don't control. So Jim, do you want to try, or would you like to pass because you feel unprepared today?
I'll pass. No, it is a community discussion. one of the questions I was going to ask you was about possible declining student enrollment coming up in the next couple of years. As far as, has there been a sweet spot of student enrollment for the Bloomington campus? I think knowing those things, and there's other factors for housing in particular, but I was just joking. No, I don't have the answer. But we do engage in conversation and hopefully we'll get there. But so no, I don't have an answer. I'm sorry.
I understand. Well, and if I understood part of your question, you know, we do need to get a handle on what the right size is for this institution. I think, if I'm very honest, I am concerned that we have grown the undergraduate population too much on this campus. We have, and this has been a strategy for a while, frankly, probably tied to just trying to get increasing tuition dollars. But we haven't grown the infrastructure of the institution. And so I recently announced a Faculty 100 initiative where I'm using presidential funds for the Bloomington campus to hire 100 new faculty, tenure track faculty. And that is in part because we haven't kept pace in terms of hiring faculty with the enrollment growth for students. And so we have some work to do. We have a fairly new provost who is on that. I suspect that we're going to find that we probably need to right size undergraduate enrollment to better match the resources that we have, but that there is opportunity to grow the graduate enrollment on this campus. And so we'll see, but we need to do some work to figure out what the right number is. I don't think we know that yet.
Okay, I think that's about it for now. But before you leave, we have a little ceremony that we do once a quarter.
Okay.
So this is the time that we choose an agency in town that we would like to support in honor of our guests who come to be with us. So with that, I would love for you to choose one of these names and tell us who our next quarter agency might be. So let's see, drum roll, please. Okay.
All right. Our next recipient is Stages Bloomington.
Stages Bloomington. Yay, that's absolutely fantastic. A very worthy arts organization. And I want to thank you so much for being so forward in your vision. I've been involved in the Center for Rural Engagement, as you know, for the last 3 years. And as being involved in the Jacobs School of Music and at Indiana University as a whole, I'm thrilled with the idea of Indiana University having a greater impact on the state of Indiana through the next decades to come. So I'm very happy that you're really leaning into that as part of Indiana University's strategy. Thank you so much for being with us. It's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Zoom.
Yeah, good. Great. As always, fantastic meeting, incredible guests, and wonderful things to think about. Next week, our meeting will take place in the Georgian Room, and we'll be on Zoom as well, as always. Our guest will be one of the two 9th District congressional candidates, and we'll be meeting Matt Fife, who's a high school math teacher and serves as a leader in his local teachers union. He's the Democratic contender for that. So with that, let's have our 4-way test +1, and please rise as we say, for the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, would it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? Thank you all so much. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.